Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. I am one of your hosts, Mike Nelson, here with Derek Foster.
The other host.
The other host. We're not co-hosts. We're just hosts.
That's it.
You're the other host. If this is your first time listening to the Blue Collar Startup, each episode we interview business owners, staff, support members in blue collar businesses, trades, and sometimes we're interviewing support services like we did. One of our last episodes, not the last one, but the last one was with Boom Nation. That was a lot of fun. Those guys are doing some great work. Out of the deep South, the dirty South, just out of the South. I don't know if that's the deep or the dirty South, but I don't know geographically actually where those are located. But do you know where the dirty South is located? You ever hear that?
I think it's a mystery because I did live in Atlanta, Georgia for a while, and I would hear about the dirty South a lot. Yeah, and people would claim to be like it's there, but nobody ever told me exactly what the boundary lines are for it.
Where's the border?
Yeah, you can't pick it out on a map, right?
No chance.
And today we're here with Dimitri Skrinik, and Dimitri is currently in the trades, which we're going to hear about a little bit, but also previously owned your own business, but now working for someone else. So really interested to hear that story and to kind of hear the differences and some of the insight that you can get from that perspective. So Dimitri, do us a favor, tell us who you are and what you're doing.
So I have a little bit of a complicated background because I'm not originally from the United States.
Yeah.
So I was born in Moldova. It's a tiny country in Eastern Europe, and it's one of the most westernmost countries in Eastern Europe, I like to say. And so my whole family got a chance to move to the United States all at the same time, luckily. It was a long process. Took us 10 years to apply and finally get the approval. And then we finally moved to the United States, and after that point, I was actually 7 years old when I was here. I'm the youngest. And at that point, obviously did the whole thing, having to learn the language, living in this country and all that. But long story short, I was never really one for schooling, but my father luckily convinced me to go to college. I wasn't going to thank God he did, because I feel like that was a good, shift in my life. And after that, I ended up going to, kind of working at a couple places during school in the construction field, trying to get as good as possible, because I was one of those kind of people that I knew that my dad and my parents weren't going to pay for my college. So I was like, what, I better make worth my time, because I'm not going to go to college and just waste it. Not for me, So I ended up being very, very serious about my time in college. Didn't waste any time. I was very motivated and dedicated about, once I get out, I'm going to make something out of this. Otherwise, why am I doing this? It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me a whole bunch of my time. So I'm not going to mess around. And so during school, I went to work for a couple of different companies as an intern. So like in between semesters, I was kind of working for different places.
Were you a free intern or a paid intern?
I was always a paid intern. Luckily, nice. Which is actually one thing about this industry, is that there's never enough people. And I think that's part of the reason why I was always able to find a paid internship.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. I got to do something very specific to what I was learning and get paid for it, which I thought was like I was getting away like a bandit, which was great. And so the whole time during school, I was working at different places. So I got a chance to work at a construction management firm. I worked at this the city of Albany as a road reconstruction inspector during college. And so a couple other things, but everything ever since I got into college was always specifically construction related.
Why is that? Why do you think that you were drawn to construction?
I should have said that. So my father, growing up, so it was a very poor country, so he had to kind of like look for work elsewhere. So he was a project manager in the construction industry in Italy as I was growing up.
Oh, no kidding.
So that's where he had to kind of go to try to make a living for the family. So he's always been in that field, and he's always been a project manager for as long as I've known in my former country. So he was like, try it out. I really enjoyed it. It worked for me, so try it out. So I was lucky enough that I had somebody who's been there, done that could save me a little bit of time having to learn what's right for me, because I feel like a lot of kids don't get that opportunity to get lucky by being told what might be a good fit for you.
Well, a lot. I mean, or at least they don't listen.
That too, yeah.
My kids don't listen.
But yeah, that was kind of the reason why I was so motivated. And like I said, I'm also very didn't want to go to college. So if I went, for me, it was like, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna make sure I get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of did that. And during college, everything was specifically about construction. I had an end goal. I wanted to be a project manager, and by a certain time. And I read books about what a good project manager does, what they're expected to do, who they are as people. Mm-hmm. And I literally would highlight things, and I'm like, all right, let me get a book about that. Let me get a book about this. And so I just was like hyper dedicated. I should also say that growing up, I was also extremely religious and very I would read the Bible and study the Bible, get into the Greek and the Hebrew and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that had a lot to do also with my intense motivation to kind of like be motivated to stick to one field.
What do you mean? Just because you already had like that regimented discipline because of being so religious, or?
I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that's most of it. I think that the fact that, the mindset of growing up, and it was like a very conservative upbringing.
So maybe not distracted too. Like I hear you saying that it's like, oh, you probably weren't like distracted by going out partying on the weekends and chasing girls around. Like I know, like, I think about my 20s was just a big waste of a decade, but because I wasn't, and I was a bit of a knucklehead. So
yeah, that's what's funny is that with a lot of people I joke about that, and some of my friends who I was in the same religious group with, we sometimes think about the past and like, and we're like, what did we miss out? And I'm like, yeah, in some ways, absolutely. A lot of the partying and having a good time, I definitely missed out on. But
I would give it all back, for the record, to be more structured in my 20s. Legit.
Yeah,
absolutely, 1,000%. I would give back every hangover, all the money I spent partying, all of it, and probably 90% of those good times I'd give all back to have the discipline that I have now.
For all you kids that are listening.
Legit, like yeah. I look at, I'm 46 years old, be 47 in a couple of months. I don't mind. I like my life. I like where I'm at, but at the same time, man, I think about if I had the structure and discipline that I have now when I was in my 20s, instead of partying and chasing girls and doing all that stuff, like, holy moly, the things I could have accomplished. So food for thought.
You know what, man? I think that I'm sure there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, but at the same time, I've talked to so many people, and I feel like that's almost something that everybody says. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, like, for example, I have regrets. I can say that, I could have been less regimented. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like it's, we've all been there. We have things that we wanted to change, but I feel like at the same time, it makes who you are.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of things I missed out on that I can't brag about because I was too regimented. I had too much of a strict upbringing, and like I didn't have a lot of fun when I was a kid, which is good for my career now. But sure. It's like, like there's a lot of different things I missed out on as well. Which a lot of the memories you can rely on, you can always go back on, and even when you're going to be retired, you're going to have all those memories still. So
for the record, all those memories are about one of my buddies or myself doing something really stupid after drinking too much booze. So, it's fun around a campfire, but I would, if I was going to change one thing, that would be, I'd go back. I'd be a lot more aesthetic. Aesthetic.
We talked about religion too, Dimitri, and it's always kind of given me, the sense of purpose, right? Of why I'm doing what I'm doing, you kind of look back, and at least I do, and say, well, that's what was supposed to happen that got me to this point too. So, it's do you find that was helpful, for you, of having that religious structure and being able to, find your purpose and follow that path?
I think that was very helpful. It's kind of ironic because nowadays I would not claim to be as religious as I used to be, not even close. But
Catholic,
Protestant Christian. I would say the closest thing to it would be Methodist.
Okay,
which is very, very strict. Like, it's all about what you do, how you think.
I grew up as a Presbyterian. It's pretty much just a free for all. Yeah, you just do whatever you want. Those Presbyterians.
The Wild West.
We were next door to the Methodist church. It's funny because my grandmother went to the Methodist church and we went to the Presbyterian church. They had less rules. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So, but it's like I said, it's right now. I'm not gonna say I'm a highly religious person. So, I got the most. I feel like I got a lot of it when I was younger, but now I don't. I wouldn't say I'm getting anything out of it because I think it's not the same. When you get a little bit older. So it's kind of funny how that works. I think that it's almost like I got lucky that I was just didn't have any other opportunities, so I just studied the whole time. So
yeah,
in a sense, I got lucky with that. It's just a coincidence in a way.
So tell us about what you're doing now, and because I want to have that conversation if we can, and then talk about when you owned your own business and kind of the differences and the transition and all that fun stuff.
So right now I'm a project manager for a larger framing contractor. So we're mostly a subcontractor. We work in five states, sometimes other states as well on top of that. And we also have a sister company where we fit up and customize modular shipping container buildings. So something like that. It's typically
like tiny homes,
kind of like that. Mostly we do offices, but tiny homes are from time to time we get one of those, or we have like a large office array, like a bunch of containers put together into like essentially a mobile office unit.
That's cool.
So stuff like that.
Sounds neat.
Yeah, it's actually kind of the fun. One of my fun, I would say, positions right now. It's the same company. We're not the same company, but we're sister companies. But I have the same boss.
Have you guys thought about venturing into bunkers? That seems to be a big business right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
With shipping containers, you have to there's a whole thing in order to put it underground that you have to do. It's probably not the best container for that.
Actually, I did. I kid you not, I did think about that because it's kind of a good idea because with the shipping container, if you have a big hole in the ground and you put it in there and you pour some concrete around it, you have a bunker. Because you can use the container as a concrete
as
form.
the frame, right?
Yeah,
or as the form, yeah.
Yep. So
right. Will it support the weight of the concrete when it's wet?
I mean, you might have to support a little bit, but it'll hold. You might have to add some bracing to it, but then after it cures, you got yourself a bunker.
I'm not going to say that I've researched it, but from my understanding,
I was going to say I got a couple clients in mind.
You have to bury them upside down because the bottoms are thicker and more reinforced than the tops, and that you have to do a little bit of bracing to make sure it doesn't cave in on you. But food for thought, everyone.
Actually, one thing that I have been thinking about, I actually sent it to my boss, is shipping container pools. You can do an above ground or you can bury in the ground, and it actually can save you some money by doing that.
That's an interesting idea as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you got shipping containers. Well, you get like a 20-footer, right? Yeah. And then now are you going to stick a couple of them together so you can get wider units and then cut out the middle panels, or and then you put cement around them?
There's a whole lot you can do with them. It's actually kind of crazy, and the building codes haven't caught up to them. So there's a lot of leeway and loopholes and things like that. So it's the Wild West. So
as a former Presbyterian, we like the lack of rules and structure that sounds like that provides.
We're trying to take advantage of that. Yeah. But, it's cool. It's a really cool venture, and it's actually in a sense for me, it's kind of like a startup because I'm doing a lot of the advertising, and I built the website for the business and things like that, and I'm doing all the design work and everything. So for me, it's kind of a startup feeling, just like when I was working for myself. And my boss says the same thing, and like he it's cool. Like you're starting a new thing, and it's all new and it's fun. I really enjoy it.
Listen, Derek, I'm sure you feel the same way, but like the beginning is always so much fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like that startup phase, it's exciting. It's like, I always attribute it to it's like, I get up early in the morning, right? So I'm up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the day holds so much promise about what you're going to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have that spirit. You're just a freaking optimist anyway. So you think everything's going to go great. And so in the morning, I always have that feeling. And then, the day obviously goes to shit, but but it's the same thing with owning a business, right? Like 100%. In the beginning, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. I'm going to make so much money. We're going to do so much cool stuff. And it's just exciting. It's so much fun.
It's you just try to balance out the seesaw with, things that are awesome. And then, in any business, you have the actual hard work that has to be done too, which tends to kind of take away some of the fun times. But hey, I mean, I just try to make the most out of the good times and the cool feeling.
Yeah. So So you're kind of doing both these gigs, right? So how do you balance between the shipping container and the framing company?
Luckily, as a project manager, my schedule is pretty much non-existent, and you're kind of on call at all times. It's just one of those things where you're constantly working and you constantly have something going on, like a fire to put out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't difficult to just put one more thing on the plate, you know, and this is kind of luckily I can control it to a certain extent because I pay for advertising, so I can kind of like control how many people find us on online. So you can kind of manipulate that gauge a little bit, but it's really not that difficult because being a project manager is always kind of chaotic. And so as long as you just stay organized and you kind of like, do, all the things you have on your list, and you may have to work a little late, but you get it done. There's always a way to get things done if you put your mind to it. So it was a little hectic thinking about adding more work to my already very busy schedule. But then I was like, you know what? What's changed?
Right.
So something that he just said that's super important, and I know you know it being an entrepreneur, Mike, but there's always a solution. There's always a way to figure it out. So many people will throw their hands up and say, I don't know what to do, and that's the difference between, the employee and the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What correlation do you think you're, immigrating here to the U.S., not knowing anybody, not knowing the English language, what role do you think that played in your ability to problem solve?
I think that it kind of set me up for being able to withstand some of the, I guess the better way of putting it is it made me more gritty, because growing up, it was tough, like you're not accepted if you can't speak the language, people tell you to go back to where you came from and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny because I know some people who they say it doesn't happen to white people, but yeah, it does happen to white people too. People don't like people who are different than them, So it kind of sets you up for realizing that not everybody's gonna like you, not everybody's gonna want to support you, and there's gonna be things that go wrong, and you can plan for all you want, and things are still gonna go wrong, and you kind of get used to that, and then you start to be like, you know what, that's just a part of life, and so you just get a little bit more thick-skinned, and that does help a lot, especially in business, because your job is to basically manage chaos constantly. If you have a business that's going really well and you don't have a whole lot of that going on, good, that's awesome, that's really cool. But I feel like for most people, it's kind of like constant struggle to keep things as controlled as possible. But it's always like a very hectic process, I would say.
Yeah. I would agree.
I was just thinking this morning, your question actually made me think of a situation that happened this morning with my daughter and just made me laugh. Where you're talking about knowing what to do and what the solution is. And my daughter comes downstairs. Now, by the way, my daughter, she's 13. And she's doing 75 hard with me. I don't know if I told you that.
Yeah, Emily showed me the Instagram picture.
The picture, yeah. So it was really
cool.
Cute that she wanted to do it with me. So she's doing it, and so I got up at 4:00 this morning. She got up at 4:30. So she did her first workout. I was doing mine, and she goes up, showers, she comes downstairs, and she's got to make her lunch because I make the kids make lunch now because they're big enough to do that stuff. They don't need me making their sandwiches for them. Yeah, and. But so she's looking at the sink, and there's like dishes in the sink, and it's a double sink, and there's a cutting board for whatever reason is like covering the left hand sink, and she's looking at it, and she's just like, how she had to wash her thermos for the soup she was making. She's like, how am I supposed to wash this? She's like, where's the sponge? And I'm looking at her, I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, I'm like, pick up the cutting board. Sponges underneath the cutting board, like move the cutting board. I'm like, but you talk about like in any realm of life, man, it's amazing. Like sometimes people just can't get out of their own way or figure out what the solution is. So
even foreshadow for me.
Holy moly. Yeah, you're right. You got right that coming in front of you. So you talk about all the chaos, right? And I think from the other project managers that we've talked to, like Eric and Kelsey came on from MLB, and they were, similar thing, right? And what's the gentleman from Venaccio that came on?
Oh, Vince.
Yeah, and he was kind of saying the same thing. And so I'm wondering, what do you have tools? Do you have software? Like, how do you manage the chaos of knowing, because to me, project management is knowing the project, knowing all the parts and pieces, assigning priority to what's got to get done, tracking what's being worked. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening there, right? So, like, how do you manage it? Do you, like, I think Vince would say, he's like, just keep it all in my head, bro. I got this. Like,
he's so he's so laid back. Dimitri reminds me a lot of him.
Yeah.
They're very similar.
Do you guys know the motorsport drifting? Like, how you can drift a car? So I consider it kind of like that, where it's controlled, losing control in a way where you're like doing it in a stylish way, where even though you don't have any traction, but you're doing it on purpose and you're doing it in a controlled way, essentially. So what it is that there's going to be things that are going to go, there's going to be problems and things won't go the right way, but you control whatever you can, and there's a lot of things that you could, maintain if you have a good set of notes, like I have a to-do list that I always keep up to date. I have spreadsheets for different jobs, and every job is different because for some things you don't need a set of notes. You could just kind of call people, get a couple updates, and just go with the flow. Other jobs, the bigger they get, the more complicated they get, the more you have to like really start to think ahead and try to avoid some of the things that are going to happen. And I think that one of the biggest things that project managers, good project managers, add to the field is they can predict what won't go right, and they start to work on that beforehand. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing, because really a project manager can be anybody. You don't necessarily have to have an education, but if you have experience and you kind of have a little bit of foresight and you kind of try to, if you have conscientiousness, it just comes natural, and you tend to see what's going to go wrong and and you actually do something about it. You don't really wait until it happens, until the problem happens.
So tell us about when you owned your own business. So I'd like to hear about that. Like, what was it? What were you doing? How did you start it? Like, give us the background on that.
So that was actually kind of I would say a coincidence. So my brother started this company. He was doing painting work, right? So that was his thing. He had some experience, so he just started his own company, and he would paint homes. And when I got out of college, I was I had the education and everything, and I was fired up to do something, and he needed some help, so I ended up joining his crew. And then not too long into that, he actually was already studying to become a programmer, software engineer, and he actually got a position. He got an offer from Albany, and he's like kind of approached me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in taking over for a small fee?" And I was like, I don't like the fee part, but I would want to keep this going, because he did a lot of hard work to get this thing up and running. And I was like, I'm not going to let this go to waste. I never really planned to be a business owner. And to be honest with you, to be quite frank, I'm too lazy to be a really good business owner and start something from scratch. but I took the opportunity because he did the hard part, which is starting the business. That's definitely the hard part. And then it was up and running. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And so at that point, I gave him, whatever he was asking for. And I took his tools and everything, and I started off on my own. And from then on out, what it is, he started out as a painting business, and I kind of like immediately thought, I wanted to do siding, like put up, clapboard and cedar shakes and vinyl siding and things like that. I thought that would be more interesting. So I immediately pushed into that field, and then soon we started doing masonry restoration for some of the older homes in Albany and other areas. So it was essentially exterior restoration that I kind of pushed the business into, and that's what we focused in, is basically siding, painting of the homes on the exterior, masonry restoration. So not new masonry jobs, but pointing and small masonry repairs and things like that.
So awesome. Concrete steps, or like you said, pointing a chimney, or repairing a foundation, things like that.
Pretty much, yeah. And it was all really easy work, because when you work on the outside of the house, it just keeps things simple. Because you're not inside of somebody's house constantly trying to walk around them and things like that. So it was really nice little market niche that we got into, and that's what I did for a little while.
Did he give you the family discount?
Looking back at it, I guess it was a good price, but I didn't expect him to ask money for it. But then again, I do respect that because a little while later, he bought it back for me and he paid me back the same amount. So like,
oh, he did.
Wow.
Yeah, it actually worked out really, really well. Like he wanted to go get back into it because software engineering wasn't what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and
he was making more money working for himself, and it was better because he was his own boss. And it was just really good timing once again because I ended up getting out of the business because I ended up realizing that I was on a ladder in the middle of winter, putting up siding, and it was a great job and everything, but my phone wouldn't turn on because it was so cold. And I'm like, I did go to college for construction management. Maybe I should do something with that because it was getting kind of like slow. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it was good. It was paying well, but I'm like, this is so seasonal. Like I need to get something more steady. And I ended up getting a job at Bon & Christie at that time through somebody I knew. Because they were looking for somebody, and ever since then, I was a project manager, or I was in that office end of the construction management and general contracting division
in that type of role.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you just came over from your own business. That's so cool because nobody talks about family dynamics in business.
Yeah,
and it's tough doing business with family, but
very tough.
I'm sure you and your brother were close, moving to the States and everything. So that's really cool. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
Do you want to talk about your family business, Derek? Do we?
What's that, mine?
Yeah,
that'll be another episode
or series.
We'll get your mom. We'll get Michelle in here.
We could film a whole series about about our family business.
It's you're right though. It's working with family is not easy. It was very tough because after my brother came back, I was actually paying all the guys as W-2 employees in this business, which was really, really tough because they don't see the taxes I pay, they don't see the the workman's comp and all that, and it was just killing me because it was like 25% of what they were supposed to get paid was being pulled out from taxes and workman's comp, and so when I paid them $1, they only got 75 cents. They're like, what's going on here? So. People just don't appreciate it because I was really trying to do things by the book.
Yeah,
but it was really tough, and there's some things I would have done different going back to, if I was going back doing that for
all
myself.
Cash
or gold.
It's or gold, yeah. They're even better in the current market conditions. Gold looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's up.
So, let's talk about the decision to sell. So, because to Derek's point too, there's just things about owning a business that I don't think that everybody thinks about, right? And it's not for everybody, right? I truly believe that everyone should own their own business if they want to, and because it's not for everybody. There's it's hard. And it's a different kind of hard of working for somebody else. Like I always say, you trade one set of problems for another one. And if you're working for someone, you have a specific set of problems, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're the boss and working for yourself, you have a whole nother set of problems. So what can you tell listeners about, owning the business and the things that you just didn't like about it? Because people don't like to talk about that stuff. So
yeah. So there's a book that I listened to a while back that I forget what it's called, but there's some people who are really good at doing something. They're called in that book, they would call them technicians. Mm-hmm. So you can be a really good technician, and then you can also be a really good entrepreneur. And then sometimes people get lucky to have both. But usually it's like a little bit of you're strong at one or you're strong on the other and maybe very weak at the other. So one thing I think that for a lot of people that want to get into business, they don't consider is the fact that there's more than just doing. If you want to be a bricklayer, it's more than just laying brick. You also have to now market yourself. You have to do taxes. You have to hire people, and you have to manage clients and their, whoever they are, which sometimes can be more difficult than the job itself. So the big thing is that there's some people who are really well suited for it, and some people are not. And I think that people who realize that early on, they can be very successful because that they could take advantage of it and avoid some of the working against who they are as a person.
Yeah.
So for me, for example, I'm very actually good with my hands. I'm very creative, and I know a lot of different things, and I'm just what do you call it? One of those Joes that that can do a whole bunch of things.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. Yeah. I don't know why I call him Joe.
You can be Joe of all trades too. If you
Joe
want.
of all trades. Okay.
Yeah, Joe of all trades.
Jack is kind of
Forget Jack.
outdated.
No one likes Jack anyway.
Didn't he sink on Titanic or something?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So so Jack of all trades. I'm kind of one of those guys. So which is good. And I'm also very entrepreneurial. That's my strong suit. And but my weakness is I'm kind of lazy. So physically, like I just had a hard time, sticking with it. Like I did really well for myself, but like when it comes down to doing the actual work yourself, it's a little different, And I've always been the intellectual type, the guy who likes to push papers, but not necessarily do the hard work.
Yeah.
And I learned that the hard way. That's part of the reason why I ended up wanting to work for GC, is that I was like, man, I'm doing well, but this is struggle. Mm-hmm. It's a struggle for me. So that was my biggest problem is I was constantly like fighting against that. And some people they love it. I have all my brothers. They're in business for themselves. Mm-hmm. My father, had he spoken English better, he would have been in business for himself as well, or he would have been a project manager as well. But he's working for my brother. So essentially, everybody in my family, all the men are working for themselves, in a sense, and I'm the only one who's not like them.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that, But I feel like it's an awesome thing, and some people have the right makeup to be a business owner. And if you are, it's awesome. I wish I was more like that, to be honest. I really do. Because when you work for yourself, you have a lot more opportunities. You can literally make your own schedule, and you can say no to whoever you want to say no to. And that's just a lot of power.
I didn't really have a choice to be self-employed. I'm unemployable. I'm the worst employee on the planet. The last time I tried it, and Mark Miller was on the podcast. That was the last time I tried to be an employee
the greatest story ever
for 5 months. And
ironically, that's what makes people very, very good at being a business owner. I know a lot of people like that, because you just like you want to have it your own way.
Yeah,
and
I've tried it a couple times over the last 25 years, and it has never worked out well for me. So I just gave up trying to be an employee anyway. But what are you gonna do? So I appreciate you sharing that too, because that's again,
that's great.
A lot of people talk about the great side of being an entrepreneur and the making your own schedule and the your own boss and blah blah. But it's like, yeah, but it's not for everybody. Like I think the selling and marketing side for a lot of people, like I know a ton of people that are great at doing the thing. Mm-hmm. But when you put them in a situation to have to go out and talk to people about the thing and how much it's going to cost and getting those people to make a decision, and they don't want to do that stuff, and they just want to do the thing.
I think that's one thing that's not talked about enough in our society, is that I think maybe partly because of being a project manager and seeing different trades and seeing different crews and seeing how you have a construction manager, then you have you have all these different people, architects, construction managers, owners, then you have superintendents, and you have other project managers, foremen, laborers, and you name it, all these different kinds of people. You start to see that, and you talk about this guy, he's a really good super, or this guy is a really good PM, but he's weak on this, or he's strong on that. And you start to realize that, there's people have personality types, and they have things that they're really good at, and there's things that they're really weak at. And it's like, when you get to, nobody likes to really say to themselves, I'm really weak at this, but if you kind of like, figure out who you are as a person, what makes you tick and what you're good at, what you were really like born to be, you can really like get the most out of it, and if you're really good at something, and you tackle that and you make that your life goal, that's when you can really shine, I feel like. And a lot of people, they try to get into business, like my fiance right now is trying to really start something new, and I'm like, nice. It's cool and everything, but let me just tell you, I'm always a Debbie Downer. I'm the one I'm like, it's good, keep it up, but like, just make sure you consider all the other stuff that that's different. Yeah. Outside of doing the actual thing that you want to do, that's going to come along with it, and it's part of the price you pay as a business owner. Man, entrepreneurs love to hear about the reality side of things. When we're in our optimistic
what's the word?
Fervor?
Yeah, right. You're in that haze, that daze of just
Yeah.
being so excited about starting business. Don't talk to me about reality. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then life shows you something different.
It's going to show you adversity for sure. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I think it's one of my favorite things about owning a business, though, is, and to your point about what you were talking about earlier about knowing what to do, or like, well, I don't know what I would be if I didn't have challenges to like overcome or problems to solve. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, like what value life would have at that point.
Yeah.
That, like then at that point, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just going to go back to doing what I did in my 20s. Right. Like, but having adversity and having challenges to overcome is just, it's amazing.
In a sense, I think that being a business owner is almost like being a cowboy, because it's like you constantly have to like, try your best to like stay from, getting flung by the bull. You know what I mean? Like you're always like fighting against it. You know what I mean? But it's fun. And the inverse of that is basically somebody who works in an office and like you people don't just accidentally become cowboys. You know what I mean? You don't just walk into it and be like, you know what? Let me try that. No, you gotta want it. You gotta be it. You know what I mean? And you just like it's who you are as a person, I think. And then some people who they thrive in working for the state and they just want to sit there and they just want to read plans all day. And they want to like read submittals and stamp submittals approved or disapproved all day. And hey, for some people that works, but I feel like for entrepreneurs, that would never go. They would never
be the cowboy. I love that. I feel like you just gave me permission to buy a cowboy hat too. I'm gonna wear it around the office.
Going to Boot Barn after this.
I mean, we do own a farm. I think I don't have any horses, but
You can fix that.
yeah,
You're close to the track.
horses are not. We did horses for a little bit. They're not
A lot
for
of
me.
work.
It's not the work. It's so
No.
It's so funny. People say that all the time about like a lot of work. I'm like, I like the work, and even now with the the setup we have now, it's a lot of work. But everything that's worth anything is a lot of work. It wasn't the work with the horses. It was just, to be fair, they terrified me. Like
They're
they are
big creatures.
big animals, man. And like I didn't grow up with horses, so it was like a new experience. And I had some horses that had some issues. That's why we got them for free, I guess. The whole saying about a gift horse, right? So, yeah. And when the gelding bit me for like the fourth time and like charged me and did some other thing, I was like, all right, that's
Enough's enough.
someone's gonna get hurt, at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah.
So no horses. But anyway, I know we're getting.
So, what are some of your goals, Dimitri? Now, as you're moving on in your career, what do you where do you want to be in, let's say, 5 years?
So I would say career-wise, there's not really a whole lot I can say about being a project manager, because it's kind of like it's a job. You're a project manager. You're given a project, and that's your thing for the next half year or a full year. So there, I intend to get better at what I do, which is great. But I feel like I'm in a good spot. As for the container modification company, I think there's a long way to go, and I hope that within the next in 2024 we hit hopefully 5 million, and maybe in the next 5 years we're gonna hit we're gonna be doing 20-25 million. So it's ambitious, but I really think that there's a long way to go, and I'm really gonna be pushing for it. And I actually have a say in it. I really feel like that's very realistic. And in my personal goals, I would say within the next couple of years, I want to build my dream backyard oasis, man cave, golf simulator garage.
Is it going to be out of a container?
Unfortunately not. The container won't be good enough because it's too short.
All right.
I need some tall ceilings for
ceilings.
for golf clubs. But I was thinking about it, but it's not going to work out.
Maybe the bunker underneath it.
Yeah.
Stack them up.
That's it. Stack them.
There's definitely going to be a couple containers on site, though. That's for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the thing. I want to build a really cool, right now I have a garage, like a standalone garage at home, but I want to build one. Like I don't care about the house, like not a big deal for me, but I do want to build a custom, like a cool timber frame barn garage type of thing where you can play golf in it and watch movies and just like a little spot to hang out after work, basically.
A play shack, a fun shack.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something fun for it. we're naming your shack right now.
People say man cave. I don't know why, but I just think that word is kind of like, it's kind of outdated, but I call it like an entertainment room.
Well,
but there's so much more to it
a
than
cave
that.
sounds small, and it sounds like it's under the ground or in a mountainside.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're building is like
It's a fun house.
it's a fun
FunHouse, yeah.
Ooh, the fun
FunHouse.
house.
There you go.
That works.
All right, there it is.
Mainly
Dimitri's fun house.
So if you had any advice for, kids coming up through, middle school, high school, they're considering getting into the trades, not really sure what they want to do, what would that be?
Well, first thing I would say is that keep it up, because you are in the best position ever, because there's not a lot of not a lot of people in the trades right now, and so you're going to be very, very valued when you get out of school or when you're done with your trade school. So you're in the right course. So keep at it, and the best thing you can do is try a few things. Like work for a couple people. See what you like and what you don't like, and try to learn that as fast as possible, because once you know what you don't like, and you'll know what to avoid, and you can save yourself a lot of time, wasted time, just by kind of going after the right thing. And the more you keep it with doing one thing, like one trade or one some kind of a speciality, the better you'll be. So the quicker you can learn what you like in the trades, the better off you're going to be, for sure.
If people want to learn more about the shipping container buildings, or about and what was the company that you work for now?
Mods National.
Mods National. So if they want to learn more about you guys or get a hold of you or any of that stuff, how do they find you?
So the website is modsnational.com. You can check it out, and it's just a website, so there's not much you can see on there. But there's a contact page, so if you want to see what we do, we can always reach out to us, and we'll send you some renderings and some things that we can do. It's actually really cool. Unfortunately, we don't.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, most things we do are just plain offices, but we some of the cool things that we do are expensive. But there's people out there who need it, and we provide it. So reach out to us.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming in, man. Taking time to come and talk to us, and it's a great story. So
it's a pleasure, and thank you guys for inviting me. Like this is a great time, and I love what you do.
Thanks.
And I hope you keep it up, and hopefully you guys get bigger and bigger, because this is an awesome thing that you're doing, and I'm glad that somebody's out there fighting the fight. Because we need more people in this business, and I'm glad that you guys are helping that out.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, a lot of opportunities in trades, guys. And, again, speaking of which, just a quick thank you to the crew over at MLB Construction and the folks over at Michael's Group for helping us to sponsor some kids coming up through some different programs, whether it's through BOCES or through HVCC. So, because of them, we're able to help give some money out and to buy tools and help for tuition or whatever it is. So thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on the show. D-Rock.
Share the show.
Share the show. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.